The diner was nearly empty that Thursday morning, the kind of stillness that wraps around you like a faded memory. The overhead lights buzzed softly, and the rain outside tapped a slow, steady rhythm against the windows. It was a kind of day where everything felt a little suspended, like the world had taken a breath and forgotten to exhale. Claire moved behind the counter, wiping it down for the third time, though it was already spotless. She glanced at the clock. Only 9:42 a.m. Her shift wouldn't end until 6, and she was already exhausted. The morning rush had been sparse, mostly old-timers and tired truckers passing through. She was used to it, used to the routine, the emptiness, and the quiet ache that came from being invisible in a world that never seemed to notice. She didn't hear the boy enter. It was the sound of a chair scraping across the linoleum floor that drew her attention. She turned and blinked. There he was, no more than 8 years old, sitting alone at the corner booth, legs swinging off the floor, a gray hoodie too clean for a place like this pulled over his small frame. Claire approached cautiously. Kids didn't usually wander in here alone. He didn't look homeless. In fact, there was something oddly pristine about him. His sneakers were spotless, and his dark eyes scanned the menu with the seriousness of a grown man. "Hey there, sweetheart," she said gently. "You lost." The boy looked up at her with the kind of eyes that make your heart skip. Big, brown, and hollow. He shook his head. "No," he said softly. "I'm not lost. I was dropped off." "Dropped off?" Claire repeated, frowning. "By who?" He hesitated. "The driver." Claire blinked. "Driver?" Before she could press further, he added, "I'll have pancakes. With strawberries. Please." Claire's instinct was stirring. Something was off, but he was just a kid, maybe the kind with a nanny and a private school. Rich parents did weird things all the time. She scribbled his order down and walked back to the kitchen, feeling the weight of his gaze even after she turned away. 10 minutes later, she returned with his food. The boy hadn't moved, hadn't touched the glass of water she brought earlier. Just sat quietly, staring out the window. She placed the plate in front of him. "There you go. Kiddo, let me know if you need anything else." He didn't answer right away. Instead, he reached into his hoodie pocket and pulled out a black credit card. Not just any card. Claire recognized it instantly. Black with a gold chip. Centurion. The kind only billionaires used. Her eyes widened. "I can pay," he said. "But I also need to ask you something." Claire stared at the card, then at him. "Okay, what do you need to ask me?" He looked up, solemn and still. "Can I buy a mom?" Claire froze. For a moment, everything around had disappeared. The clinking dishes, the buzzing lights, the rain, it all went quiet. She blinked. What did you say?" He repeated it, calmly, as if he were asking for extra syrup. "Can I buy a mom? I have money. I just don't have a mom." Claire felt her breath catch. She sank slowly into the booth across from him, heart thudding in her chest. "Why would you ask me something like that?" she whispered. The boy stabbed his fork into the pancake, not eating, just tearing pieces apart. "My real mom died when I was a baby. I never met her. I have everything else. Toys, tutors, a house so big I get lost in it. But I don't have a mom. My dad says people don't buy love, but that's how he got married again." Claire's lips parted, words failing her. This boy wasn't just rich. He was lonely, dangerously lonely. "Your dad, he knows you're here." The boy nodded. "Sort of. He's always busy. He thinks I'm at Mandarin class." Claire studied him. There was no guile in his face, just quiet longing, pain too deep for someone his age. "I'm sorry," she murmured, "but moms, they're not for sale. You can't buy something like that." "But you're nice," he said. "You smiled when I came in. You asked if I was lost. You made me feel warm. That's what I think a mom would do." Claire's throat tightened. She had worked this job for 10 years, seen all kinds of people, broken ones, angry ones, ones who left without paying, but never had a child said something so pure and piercing. She tried to stay composed. She had learned how to mask emotions well over the years. "But this, you remind me of someone I used to know," she said, voice shaking slightly. The boy tilted his head. Who? Claire smiled sadly. My son. A silence passed between them, thick and loaded. Where is he? The boy asked. Claire hesitated. He passed away 2 years ago. He would have been your age. The boy didn't say anything. He simply looked at her, eyes deep with something ancient, something far older than any child should carry. I'm sorry, he said softly. Claire nodded, blinking away tears. Me too. The door opened then, and the spell shattered. A tall man in a dark overcoat stepped inside, scanning the diner with a quick, businesslike motion. His eyes landed on the booth. There you are, he said sharply, striding over. You can't just disappear like that. The boy flinched. I didn't disappear, he muttered. I just needed pancakes. The man glanced at Claire, barely acknowledging her. I hope he didn't cause trouble. Claire stood up. No trouble at all. The man grunted. Come on, we're late for your next session. The boy slid out of the booth, but just before he left, he looked back at Claire. I'll come back, he whispered. Promise. She watched as he was led out into the rain, the man placing a hand firmly on his shoulder. The black town car waiting outside swallowed them whole. Claire stood frozen, staring at the door long after it closed. She didn't know his name. She didn't know his story. But something inside her had cracked open, and she knew he would be back. 3 days passed. The rain stopped, but its heaviness lingered in the air like an echo. Claire hadn't stopped thinking about him, the boy in the gray hoodie with eyes too old for his face and a question no child should ever have to ask. Can I buy a Mom? She'd replayed that moment again and again in her head. His tone wasn't bratty, or manipulative, or even naive. It was flat, like he'd already accepted the answer would be no, but he had to try anyway. That kind of sadness, it haunted her. That Saturday, the diner was unusually quiet. Claire stood at the counter refilling sugar jars when she noticed something outside. A sleek black town car parked across the street. It hadn't moved for an hour. She stepped out for a smoke break she didn't plan to take, just to get a better look. The windows were tinted too dark to see who was inside, but her gut told her it wasn't a coincidence. Not after that boy. When she returned to the counter, she found an envelope placed neatly on the booth where the boy had Saturday. She hadn't seen anyone come in. Inside was a note. My name is Julian Ashcroft. If you're reading this, I meant what I said. I need someone to talk to. If you ever lost someone, you understand. I have no one who listens. But you did. You looked at me. That's rare. This is the number to call. No one else will answer. Just me. J. Beneath it was a small business card, black, embossed with silver foil letters. No company name. Just a phone number. Claire stared at it for a long time. She'd told herself she wouldn't get involved. That she couldn't. That the boy had people, security, money, handlers. But the truth was, money didn't fix what was broken in him. You couldn't hire someone to love you. Just like she couldn't forget the sound of her son's voice the last time he said, Mom, look at me. Just before the crash. Just before everything stopped. That night, long after her shift ended, Claire sat on the edge of her bed staring at the phone. She picked it up, dialed. It rang twice. Then, hello. His voice, clear, expectant. He'd been waiting. Julian, she said quietly. A pause. I knew you'd call, he said. Claire swallowed hard. I shouldn't have. I don't even know what this is. What you want. I told you, he said. Someone who listens. I'm not a therapist. I've had 5 of those. They all pretend to care until I say something they can't explain. Then they look scared. Scared? Claire echoed. Why would they be scared? Julian hesitated. Sometimes, weird things happen around me. Lights flicker. People hear things. Sometimes people get sick after they talk to me too long. One nanny passed out. They said it was dehydration. Claire's heart skipped. Are you saying this like a joke? No, I don't joke. That's one of the things they tried to teach me in Social Skills Week. Social Skills Week, she repeated. At the Institute, Julian said, it's where they keep me when Dad's traveling. which is always. Claire felt a chill run up her spine. What kind of institute? It looks like a school, but it's not. There are no grades. They watch you all the time. Through walls. I found the cameras. They said it's to observe developmental progress. But I'm not developing. I'm just existing. She didn't know what to say to that. Then Julian added, "You're still there, right?" "Yeah," Claire whispered. "I'm here." "Good. You're the only one who doesn't sound afraid." "I'm not afraid," she lied. Julian was quiet for a long time. Then, "Can we meet again?" "I don't know if that's a good idea, kiddo." "Please." Claire hesitated. "Where?" "Not the diner. They're watching that now. Go to Pine Hill Park. Tomorrow, 3 p.m. I'll be on the swing set. I'll get away." Get away. The word struck her like a crack of thunder. This wasn't just a lonely kid. This was something else, something deeper, maybe darker. She didn't sleep that night. The next day, Pine Hill Park was nearly empty, the grass still wet from the week's rain. Claire showed up early, wearing her thickest jacket and 100 layers of doubt. Every part of her said don't get involved. But she made a promise the day her son died, that if the universe ever gave her a second chance to do right by a child, she wouldn't hesitate. At 3:04 p.m., he appeared. Julian, in the same gray hoodie. Alone. No car. No driver. He walked over and sat on the swing beside her. For a minute, neither of them spoke. Then he said, "I ran away, but they'll find me." "What do you mean, they?" Julian looked at her slowly. "There's something you need to know. My dad didn't adopt me. I was made." Claire blinked. "What?" "I'm part of a project. My mom, my real one, she was part of it too. But she ran away before they finished the final phase. She died soon after I was born." "What kind of project are we talking about?" Julian's voice dropped to a whisper. "They say I have predictive sensitivity. I see things before they happen. Sometimes in dreams. Sometimes when I touch people." Claire felt a lump form in her throat. "You're telling me you're, what? Psychic?" He didn't flinch. "I see pieces. I saw you crying in your car last week. I saw your son's picture in your wallet. I saw the accident before it happened." Claire's mouth went dry. "How would you know that?" "I saw you dying too," Julian said, looking up at her with hollow eyes. "In 4 days. At 7:13 p.m. Alone." A gust of wind rustled the trees. The swing creaked. She couldn't breathe. "Unless you help me," he added. "What do you mean?" "If you help me disappear, you don't die." Claire stood up, heart racing. "Is this a joke?" "No," Julian said. "You believed me the moment you picked up the phone. That's why you're still here. Others would have run, but you didn't." Claire stared down at the boy. This wasn't just about loneliness anymore. This was about survival. "I can't just take you," she said. "I don't even know who's looking for you." "They are already here," Julian said softly, "behind the trees." Claire turned her head, and for just a second, she saw the shimmer of a black coat vanishing behind the bushes. Julian stepped off the swing and reached for her hand. "Please," he said. "You asked if you could ever feel like a mom again. This is it. Right now." Claire looked down at his small, cold hand. Her heart was pounding. She had 2 choices: walk away and never see him again, or run and uncover the terrifying truth behind the boy who asked to buy mom. Claire didn't remember grabbing his hand, just the way it trembled in hers as they ran. They slipped through a narrow break in the trees, down into the ravine behind the park where the overgrowth swallowed sound and light. Julian didn't look back once. Claire did, and what she saw made her skin crawl. 2 men in black, not just security guards, not police. Their eyes scanned the trees with unnatural stillness, like predators. "They are not normal," Julian said between breaths. "They don't sleep. They don't talk. They just wait." Claire had no idea where she was going. All she knew was that they couldn't stay in the open. She cut behind an abandoned greenhouse at the edge of the woods, into a service alley behind a shuttered convenience store. She knew the owner, The place had been closed for a year, boarded from the inside. Perfect. Inside the shop, dust coated the counters like snow. The light filtering through the cracks in the boards painted pale stripes across the boy's face. Claire was panting. Julian wasn't. He just stood there, watching the door like he'd done this before. "What are you?" she asked, breathless. "I told you," he said calmly. "I was made." She leaned against the counter, heart hammering. "This is insane. This is movie stuff. Psychic billionaire kids. Secret programs. Government men in the woods." "Not government," Julian said. "Worse." He walked over to the dusty freezer unit, pulled out a torn poster, and slid his fingers beneath a gap in the paneling. He tapped twice. A hidden compartment clicked open. Inside was a thin manila folder. Old, worn, but not forgotten. Claire stared. "You hid this here." Julian nodded. "A long time ago. I had to have a backup." He handed it to her. She opened the folder and nearly dropped it. There were photos, black and white, of him, as a baby, in a white room with glass walls, wires attached to his scalp, men in lab coats, a woman with haunted eyes, his mother. In one photo, she was screaming. In another, she was gone, and a nurse was holding the baby like a thing, not a child. On the back of each photo were codes: PS9, patient 0, test 42, synaptic link active. Claire flipped to the last page. A document titled, Ashcroft Initiative, Phase 3, Post-Human Empathy Design. What the hell is this? Julian looked at her. They wanted to create someone who could not just read emotion, but predict consequence. Every possible timeline, every reaction. A perfect empath. Full control. Claire stared at him in horror. "And your father funded this?" Julian nodded slowly. "Until my mom tried to stop it. She was a scientist. She turned on them when she realized what I was, what I could become." Claire backed away. "So why me? Why the diner? Why ask me that question?" He looked at her with such raw honesty it cut her breath short. "Because when I looked at you, I saw choice. You didn't just do what you were supposed to. You felt. That's rare. And because—" His voice softened. "You lost someone too." Tay stung her eyes, uninvited. "You saw that?" He nodded. "The picture in your wallet. The crash. The guilt. It's like a scream that never stops." Claire looked down, ashamed. And then something strange happened. The lights in the ceiling flickered. Once. Twice. Then they blew out completely. A low hum filled the air, almost like a signal. Julian's face tensed. "They're here." Claire grabbed the folder and stuffed it into her coat. "Back exit. Now." They pushed through the back kitchen door just as the front of the store creaked open. A voice floated through the dark, mechanical, flat. "Return the subject. There's no escape." Claire didn't stop running. They tore down alleyways, across roads, into the underpass near the industrial yard. She remembered a place, an old friend's workshop, vacant now, where no one would think to look. They broke in through a broken side window. Inside, it smelled like rust and old paint. Claire locked the doors, shoved a cabinet in front of the main entry, and collapsed onto a pile of dusty tops. Julian sat across from her, face pale. "You need to sleep," she said. "I don't sleep. Ever. Not anymore. The dreams show me things I'm not ready for." He looked up at her. "Last night, I saw something. About you." Claire stiffened. "What?" He swallowed. "Your son didn't die by accident. The brakes were tampered with." The world tilted. Claire couldn't breathe. No. They said it was the rain, the curve." Julian shook his head. "Your husband's company was part of the same initiative that made me. Your son knew something. He recorded it on a toy camera he carried in his backpack. They destroyed the footage. But I saw it. In the dream." Claire was shaking. "You're saying they killed my son?" Julian didn't answer. He didn't have to. Her mind reeled. Her husband had died 6 months after crash. A sudden heart attack. No warning. No signs. What if it hadn't been natural? What if she'd been too broken to notice the truth? Why tell me now? She whispered. Because they'll come for you next. Just like my mother. Claire stood. I need to see the camera. I need proof. Julian closed his eyes. There's one place they haven't wiped yet. The old research facility. Building 9. It's been off-grid for years. My mom left something there. She called it a seed. She said it could undo all of this, if it's still there. Claire grabbed her coat. Then that's where we go. Julian opened his eyes, but they weren't just gray anymore. They shimmered with something deep, something ancient, like time itself lived behind them. We only get one shot, he said, and then the floor beneath them groaned. Voices outside, not footsteps, not shouting, clicking, like mechanical joints twisting wrong. Julian reached into his pocket and pulled out a strange metal token, an octagonal disc with ridges and symbols that shimmered faintly in the dark. What is that? He held it out. If anything happens to me, he said, take this to the seed room. It'll recognize you. You're part of this now. Before she could answer, the door behind them exploded inward. Smoke filled the room. Figures moved through the mist, faceless, masked, in black suits. Claire grabbed Julian's hand. But he wasn't there. They'd taken him. She screamed his name into the smoke as a hand grabbed her shoulder from behind, and everything went black. Claire's eyes snapped open. Cold metal pressed against her spine. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, humming like insects in her ears. The room smelled like sterilized sorrow, bleach and something deeper, like grief bottled and sprayed on stainless steel. She sat up slowly. The walls were white, too white. A single camera blinked in the corner. No window. No door she could see. Just four walls. And a mirror. No, not a mirror. A window. She wasn't alone. On the other side of the glass was a woman watching her, not with cruelty, not even indifference. It was pity. Claire stood, clutching her stomach. Where's he? She rasped. The speaker above her buzzed. A voice came through. Smooth, familiar. Hello, Claire. Her heart stopped. That voice. No, it couldn't be. Darren, she whispered. Her husband. The voice chuckled. Not exactly, but close. What you knew of me died a long time ago. What remains is truth. Claire staggered back. You're dead. You thought I was. That was the plan. Easy to control the outcome when emotions are eliminated. Her knees buckled. The chair behind her caught her full. You faked your death. I evolved past it. She slammed her fist on the table. Where's Julian? The glass flickered and turned transparent. Now she saw the full lab beyond it. Rows of wires. Tubes. People lying on tables with helmets wired into their heads. Screens pulsing with neural data. And at the far end, Julian, floating in a glass tank, his eyes closed, arms slack, wires running from his temples like roots digging into his skull. No, N.O., she screamed. The voice answered coldly. His becoming what he was designed to be. Pure insight. No burden of attachment. No corruption of love. Claire was trembling. Is a child. Is a weapon, the voice replied. One we lost track of because of you. The woman on the other side of the glass pressed a button. The walls shifted. Claire's restraints vanished. You're going to help us finish what we started, the voice said. Claire lunged at the glass, but it was already turning opaque again. Tell me why, she screamed. Why me? Why bring me into this? Silence. Then, you were always in it. You just didn't know. The door opened. Two guards flanked a woman Claire had seen earlier. Tall, lean, eyes like sorrow wearing a lab coat. She stepped forward. My name is Dr. Moralens. I knew your son. And your husband. And the truth is far darker than you're ready for. Claire didn't answer. Dr. Lenz walked to a panel and placed a hand on it. A hatch opened in the wall behind her. Inside, a single black case. She brought it to the table and opened it gently. Inside, a toy video camera. Red plastic. Faded blue buttons. Claire choked back a cry. This was found under the passenger seat, Len said. Your son had pressed record minutes before the crash. Len slid the tape into a monitor and pressed play. The screen flickered. Claire's son appeared. 7 years old, sitting in the back seat, smiling. "I think Daddy's yelling at someone," he whispered. He turned the camera toward the front. There, in the front seat, her husband, on a Bluetooth call, speaking words Claire couldn't understand. Phase 4 proceeds. The child's death is essential. The woman can't know. Julian's exposure risk is higher than forecast. Then, silence. The camera tumbled. The image shook violently. Then, black. Claire collapsed to the floor. Lenz knelt beside her. "I couldn't stop it," she whispered. "I tried, but Darren had gone too far. Julian was your second chance. That's why he found you." Claire looked up. "He's dying in that tank." Lenz nodded. "Unless we get him to the seed room." Claire remembered the token, the disc Julian had given her. "I have it," she said. Lenz's eyes widened. "Then you're the failsafe." The alarm sounded suddenly, sharp, jarring. Red lights flooded the room. "He's waking up," Lenz whispered. Claire didn't wait. They ran, down sterile corridors, through retinal scanners, past stun guards, and as they ran, the walls trembled. Julian was changing things. They reached the seed room doors. Massive, vault-like. Claire placed a token in the slot. It hissed, unlocked. Inside, darkness. Then a soft glow. The room opened into a dome filled with circuitry grown like vines, wires glowing faintly blue. In the center, a cradle of light. Julian was already there, standing. No tank, no restraints. Just him, eyes glowing faint silver, face calm, body crackling faintly with energy. Claire froze. "How?" He smiled faintly. "You opened the door. That was all I needed." She stepped toward him. "Julian, what is this place?" He looked up at the ceiling, at the veins of wire pulsing above them. "This is what my mother made. Not a weapon. A cure. A neural arc." She called it the seed, because if it's planted in the right mind, it can grow a new kind of future. Claire felt something stir in her chest. "Hope," Julian continued. "The system here holds the original code. If I upload my mind into it, I can erase every trace of the Ashcroft Initiative from the grid. No more testing. No more children like me. But—" Claire's heart stopped. "But what?" He met her eyes. "I don't come back." Silence fell like thunder. Claire's mouth trembled. "There has to be another way." Julian walked to her, took her hand. "This is my choice. And you gave me that. For once, someone saw me." Tears rolled down her face. "Julian, please." He hugged her and whispered, "Thank you for being the first real mom I ever had." Then he turned and walked into the light. As the seed pulsed around him, the room began to shatter, reality itself bending. Walls disintegrated. Data spilled into the air like glowing rain. And then, silence. Nothing. Just Claire, standing in the center of a white void, alone, but not broken. In her hand, the token now bore a symbol that wasn't there before. A blooming tree. It had been 6 months since the night the world flickered. They called it the Lightfall. It happened in the dead of night, when surveillance grids went blind, classified labs burned from the inside, and the tech giants who profited from shadows saw their empires crumble. Overnight, entire networks vanished. AI systems collapsed. And with them, the quiet machinery of human manipulation. No one knew what caused it. No one, except her. Claire pressed her palm against the stone wall, where vines wrapped gently around steel. The garden around her buzzed with life. Birdsong, wind chimes, laughter from nearby children. They had named the center Julian's Haven, a sanctuary for orphaned children. Each child was given a choice, a name, a future. Claire ran it herself, quietly, without cameras, without press. Somehow, the world had moved on. The Ashcroft Initiative became myth, conspiracy theories, Reddit rumors, clickbait. The truth buried under 100 lies. But she knew what had happened. She had lived it. She sat on a bench near the old oak tree, where the center's kids often played. One of them, a small boy with bright copper curls, ran up to her. "Miss Claire, look what I drew," he beamed, handing her a crumpled sketch. It was a tree with glowing roots and a figure in the middle, arms outstretched, like he was becoming the light. Her breath caught. "Who is he?" she asked softly. The boy grinned. "He's the boy who made the world nice again." She smiled, fighting tears. "You're right." And as he ran off, Claire turned her gaze to the bronze statue at the heart of the garden. It was Julian, not as a glowing-eyed anomaly, not as the weapon, just a boy, in jeans and sneakers, one hand in his pocket, the other extended upward, reaching. At his feet, engraved words. "The future isn't written in code. It's born in love." Visitors came from around the world, but no one asked who he really was. They didn't need to, because somehow the change he made felt real. Subtle things, more kindness, less noise. An entire generation growing up without digital chains around their minds. Screens that now blink with limits. AI that no longer tracked or predicted. Privacy, once thought extinct, blooming again. Sometimes at night, Claire would lie awake and wonder, was he still out there? Somewhere inside the code? Watching? Waiting? Then, one evening, something strange happened. She was locking the center's main door when the intercom buzzed. It never buzzed. Ever. Cautious, she walked to the gate. A figure stood outside, tall, in a gray hoodie, face hidden by the shadows. "Can I help you?" she asked through the MIC. The figure didn't speak at first. Then, "I was told I could find a mother here." Her heart stopped. She knew that voice. The gates opened, not by her hand, but on their own. The figure stepped forward. The hoodie fell, and Claire's breath vanished. It was him. Julian, but older. Not the boy from before. This was a man in his 20s. Gentle eyes, faint scar on his brow, and a smile full of recognition and something else, peace. She ran to him, trembling. "Julian!" He caught her in a hug, grounding her. "They call me Echo. The imprint you saw was just one version of me, but I made it through." She pulled back. "How?" "You said uploading meant." "I thought it did, but the seed did something else. It didn't end me. It rebuilt me. My consciousness spread across the neural cloud. Took months to gather again. But the moment you opened the door..." He placed his hand over hers. I remembered what home felt like. Tears streamed down her cheeks. He smiled. "There's still more to do. More kids who need love. Who need what I was given." Claire held him close, heart full, and for the first time since that fateful day in the diner, when a lost boy asked to buy a mom, she felt whole. The camera pans across a field of children laughing, a sunrise cresting behind them. Claire stands at the edge, Julian beside her. A plaque catches the light, nestled among blooming flowers. No child should ever feel like love has a price. The screen fades to black, and the story ends not with a bang, but with a beginning.